Hi, I'm Mark Yusko. I'm CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Morgan Creek Capital Management. I got started in the investment business a little bit by accident. In fact, I always say my life's a series of happy accidents. I went to work for an insurance company right out of business school in Chicago. The guy who was doing investments retired, so my boss and I took over. I got to know fixed income markets. A couple years later, I took a job with an equity management firm. And then I got the call. I got the call from Notre Dame to go back to the alma mater. Got there, learned about the endowment model of investing, and really fell in love with the investing business, particularly the asset allocation side of the investing business. So I spent 5 years at Notre Dame, and we really transformed that portfolio from a traditional portfolio of stocks and bonds and cash to being heavy in alternatives, heavy in venture capital, private investments, and began the hedge fund portfolio as well. Came down to North Carolina, similar situation, similar size when I joined, about $700 million. When I got to North Carolina, they'd never had a CIO before, so I became the first Chief Investment Officer. Had no team, had to build a team. The portfolio was languishing. It was in the 84th percentile, one of the worst performing in the country. Most importantly, it was losing to Duke every year, so they wanted to fix that. And we set out to change the asset allocation of the portfolio from 65% stocks, 30% bonds, a little tiny bit in hedge funds. They had a little bit with Julian Robertson and a couple others. And we changed the portfolio to 60% in hedge funds, 30% in private investments, and just a little bit in traditional stocks and bonds over the course of the 7 years. Now, the interesting thing is when we started that process back in 1998, the local paper said that what we wanted to do was akin to taking grandpa's CDs in exchange for Wall Street's riskiest schemes. But over that 7 years, we transformed that portfolio to one of the top 5% in the endowment world. In fact, 2004, the year I left, I actually got nominated along with David Swenson and Jack Meyer and Andy Golden as Endowment Officer of the Year. Lost to David, but most people always do. But when we started Morgan Creek, there was a simple vision. We wanted to be a provider of the endowment model of investing to a broader swath of investors. Historically, the best investors had been the big endowments, the Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, Notre Dame, UNC, Duke, and a lot of other types of investors, smaller endowments and foundations, smaller pension funds, high net worth individuals, couldn't access the same breadth and depth of talent, the same strategies, couldn't get as broadly diversified, couldn't take advantage of the illiquidity premium. So we thought that we could bring that endowment model of investing to a much broader group of investors. We want to educate people on what is the endowment model, how do you integrate alternatives into a portfolio, how do you think differently about investing. Our byline alternative thinking about investing is more than just a line, it's a way of life. We want to show people how they can do that in their lives and how they can improve their portfolios. We need to educate our clients, we need to bring our managers together, we need to have interaction, we need to focus on building and growing that knowledge base and allowing us to have a differentiable aspect to being a part of the Morgan Creek culture. To me, the most important differentiator of an investment firm is, does the firm think like an investor or like an advisor, like an agent? If you think it's someone else's money, I don't think you take the same level of care and prudence as you do if you think it's your money. So we think like investors, we think like fiduciaries, we don't think like product providers or service providers. We really want to think differently. We really want to embrace alternative strategies, not alternative investments, but alternative strategies to gain access to the best and brightest, to invest on that global basis, to take advantage of where we see the biggest return opportunities around the world. We formed Morgan Creek. The first thing I did after we filed the documents for Morgan Creek Capital Management is I filed the documents for Morgan Creek Foundation. That foundation's focused on education. We like early childhood education as well as later childhood education, a little bit of adult education, but really focused on that early childhood and that late high school, trying to get people back to get their degrees and get engaged in the education process. And I think as we grow and develop, one of the things that we can do as citizens and as members of our community is help give back and give back through the foundation, and something I'm very proud of. And the fact that we had about 2/3 of the organization get actively involved in the foundation in some way, doing site visits, doing reviews, screening for new ideas, something that has been very exciting for all of us.